This is our recap of day 2 of the Pog Legends Streamer Chess Tournament, an event where players who are brand new to chess, all Twitch streamers, are competing against each other to see who is the best from among them. And we're going to start off with a recap of our first game right here between Itzmielda and Duckyface. Players are playing a best of 5 rapid games, and in this match we actually went to game number 5 after Ducky actually resigned 2 of the 4 first games, and then Ducky completely crushed Mielda in the other 2 games. In fact, Ducky actually intentionally conceded on the second move of the 4th game because he thought it would help him perform better if there was more pressure. And we can see very early aggression here from Ducky, who is very excited going into this final game. We have already an early wayward queen attack, queen f7 defending the pawn, which wasn't actually attacked yet, but we have d3 with the idea of Ducky to probably open up his bishop, which is what he's going to play next. We have knight c6, a developing move. Bishop comes out and queen slides over. At this point, Ducky's going to keep developing and getting some early aggression. A lot of these players at this lower elo are trying to play aggressive moves early, not necessarily the best moves, but trying to make things complicated for each other. And Ducky this whole match has been putting a lot of pressure on Mielda. Pawn h6 doesn't actually kick the bishop out. You cannot take because then you would hang your rook. So this is kind of a fake threat of sorts, but Ducky hangs a piece. He actually just loses a full bishop here, sacrificing it to Mielda. But the fun doesn't stop there, because next Ducky sacrifices the queen, and now black takes the queen, and Mielda is just up a clean 11 points of material. Ducky picked up a pawn, but it's game over. Mielda's winning. If this is a high-rated event, black is winning 100% of the time. But guys, this is 100 elo here. We're going to have some twists and turns. Let's see what happens. Don't mind the ratings, by the way. A lot of these players made freshchess.com accounts, which started around 400 for some of them. So these ratings aren't necessarily accurate. And a lot of these players are playing chess for the first time for this event. We have bishop out, but bishop out to h4 sacrifices the bishop in one move, and Ducky misses it. Ducky instead long castles. Knight b4. Mielda getting active with her pieces. She should probably be trying to get her other pieces into the game, like the knight and potentially the bishop on this diagonal, but is delaying that a little bit, probably having a tough time knowing what to develop, and Ducky picks up a full bishop here. Ducky is starting to recollect his material, starting off with a bishop, and you'll notice this will continue happening as Mielda next sacrifices her knight. Knight to c2, sacrificing the knight, really a blunder, and the king picks it up, and now Ducky is up 2 minor pieces for the queen that was sacrificed earlier. b6 trying to activate the bishop on the long diagonal, which is nice, but bishop h5 check. And Ducky's pieces are coming alive. We have the bishop in the game. We might have some sort of knight coming to the center here. The pawns can march forward and attack black's king, because black king is very weak. It's very airy out on these squares. So we now have king back to f8. But oh no, this runs right in to a fork, which will win a full rook. And actually, it's somehow coming together for white if white finds it, but white misses that. White misses that idea and plays rook e1 instead, which is absolutely nothing, staring into its own pawn, which cannot actually move forward. Instead, it might have been better to play the rook on one of these files and march some of these pawns forward if you're really not going to go for the fork, but okay. And now queen b4. Queen b4 doesn't actually threaten anything. It literally does nothing, but Mielda might be having a hard time figuring out how to develop. She might start to push these pawns up. Maybe she's going to get this other rook into the game. Maybe she's going to get the knight back into the game. And the fork still exists. The fork still exists, and it's actually totally fine for white. I mean, engines, it's still a little bit better for black, but if you get this fork, you're crawling back into this game. You're just going to have a bunch of extra material. But rook e3. Now, Ducky's idea isn't completely insane here. He's trying to probably go rook f3 and maybe attack the king, something like that. And now rook e7, and that was his idea. Rook f3, checking the king, but it's completely winning for black because black can just block with the knight. You can still check and fork these pieces, but the king's gonna move out of the way. The bishop's hanging. The knight will be hanging after you take the rook, and black's just up a queen. But Mielda misses that. Mielda misses that, and now there's actually a fork again, picking up material. You're still laser beaming down here with your pieces, and white's pieces are surprisingly active in this position, but Ducky doesn't find it again and plays a3. But a3 winds up being one of the game-changing moves because Mielda misses that her queen is hanging and just moves her king out of the way. Oh my god, the queen is hanging. The queen is sitting there on the edge of the board, and Ducky, of course, takes it because that was his whole idea for playing a3 is to take the queen, and now it's completely dominating for white. White just has a full extra knight and a full extra... White has a full extra knight and a full extra bishop. So we keep moving. Bishop b7. Pawn in the center, trying to get this other rook active. A nice idea from Duckyface, and Mielda just plays bishop takes e4, which just hangs a bishop. She's just going to lose another piece. Oh no, and now Mielda's down 2 pieces. Did I say she was down 2 pieces before? I meant she was down 1 piece before, but now she's down 2 full pieces, and this is just completely winning for black. Rook goes up to here, but oh no, rook f8 is now possible. And the only 2 legal moves will both result in a checkmate. Pawn takes, though. Dookie unlocking his other rook, still a fine move. Mjelde needs to get her other pieces into the game, but oh my god, I accidentally clicked the play button, but she doesn't. She needs to get her other pieces out and participating, and now there it is. Rook f8. And my friends, it is mate in 1, and after 5 games of competition, Dookie Face sacrifices both the knight and the rook in 1 move. Oh my god, the knight could be taken and the rook could be taken. Dookie misses mate in 1. And Mjelde takes the knight. She probably should have taken the rook, but she takes the knight here. White can still come in and check and maybe fork something. It's mate in 3 still too, but she moves up. Now the bishop's hanging. Now the bishop's hanging and the rook is hanging. Oh my god, Dookie's hanging all his pieces. Dookie's hanging all his pieces. Mjelde takes with check. Rook goes in the way. She takes the rook. King takes rook. King takes rook. And black's completely winning. The only way for white to probably salvage this is to check and pick this rook back up. But black's pieces are going to be too active. So white just needs to play knight g6, but white misses it. White misses it. And now we're going to have a race to see who can collect the pawns first. White Dookie captures the pawn on d6. Black's activating her rook. Now Dookie's going after the other pawn on a7. This is a nice idea here. Dookie just trying to clean up as quickly as possible, but Mjelde has a full rook. Mjelde has a full rook, and she's going to use it. She got a rook to the e7 file, but she throws it away. She sacrifices a full rook for nothing. Dookie can just take a rook, and he does. And my friends, it gets even worse here because Mjelde throws away her knight. Her knight can be captured by 2 different pieces, but instead of taking, Dookie plays knight c8, attacking the weak pawn, justifying Mjelde's move. Because now Mjelde can maybe come here and attack some pawns, or come here and attack. Oh my god, this is crazy. Dookie just says, no, I don't want your knight. Mjelde says, no, I insist. Please take my knight. Please take my knight. Dookie says, no, I'm going to take this pawn. Mjelde says, please take my knight. Dookie says, no, I'm just going to bounce my knight around. Maybe I'm going to push my pawn now. So king e5 and b6, and game is just over. How are you stopping this? If you go here, how do you stop the pawn? And finally, Dookie takes the piece, g4. Sure, you can lock up white's pawns over here, but you're not stopping the b pawn, and Dookie is going to make a queen. Mjelde was up a full queen earlier in the game. Dookie's up a full queen now. It's mate in 6. h5, and Dookie sacrifices his queen. His whole queen is gone. That's it. Mjelde takes it. And not only does Mjelde take it, Dookie forces Mjelde to take the queen because it is Mjelde's only legal move. Now, mind you, look at the time. 4 minutes for Mjelde. Mjelde's getting a little lower on time here, and Mjelde needs to win this game, or Dookie needs to win this game. One of them needs to win if they want to win. And Dookie's down a queen now, but he's still winning because he has an extra knight. He has an extra knight, so Dookie's winning on board and winning on time. We have e4, throwing the pawn away, but Dookie doesn't care. Dookie's sacrificing all his pawns. What is he doing? Mjelde now has a pass pawn. Mjelde's pawn's going to go h2, h1, but the king has enough time to stop it. You just got to play king f2 or king f1, but Dookie misses it. Dookie checks the king, which is still fine. You still have time, but he takes the pawn. He sacrifices his knight. h2 is actually better here than taking the knight, which Mjelde needs to find with 4 minutes on the clock, and she does. She plays h2 and h1, and now Mjelde has a queen. Knight f4, queen here, and now queen is targeting both these pawns. Best move here. Dookie actually finds it. Knight g2, making things challenging for Mjelde, who now moves her king over to the left. We have b4, and now Mjelde plays a beautiful queen h4, hanging her queen in 2 different directions. Dookie, showing no fear, and spending 1 second, plays b5, continuing to march his pawn, not caring about this queen at all whatsoever. So Mjelde does the principal thing, brings her queen back to win the pawn and make things easier for herself. She has 3 minutes on the clock. She needs to checkmate Dookie, who has 7 minutes on the clock. Let's see what she does. We have knight here blocking the check. This is a free knight if Mjelde decides to take it, but she doesn't realize that her king is helping attack this knight, so she instead checks here. King goes there, and now king takes. Okay, this is mate in 1. This is mate in 1. White's going to make it a little bit more complex for her than this, but now this is mate in 1, and she can just win on the spot, but she misses it. Oh no, she misses it. King g2, Mjelde's thinking. King h3, okay, king's behind the pawn. Okay, this should be an easy win. You just gotta pick up the pawn. Mate in 1 again, g4, Mjelde misses that. Instead, she defends her pawn. Maybe she's gonna march the king a little closer. We have king sliding up. Players are moving faster now. 2 minutes on the clock from Mjelde. She throws away a pawn, but it's okay. It's still completely winning. And g4, oh my god, king f3, and now white is winning. All white needs to do is take the queen, but white misses it. Dookie plays g5, and now it's mate in 1 again. Mjelde needs to find mate in 1 under 2 minutes on the clock. We have king here. Mielda doesn't know how to checkmate. She hasn't shown us that she can checkmate yet, and she's still trying to figure out. King slides down. The queen is hanging again a second time. Just take the queen and it's over. But she misses it, or Dookie misses it. He misses it. G6, king f5, G7. Mielda has a minute 20. It's checkmate in 1, but she does manage to pick up the pawn. It's mate in 1. This is mate in 1. If Dookie moves the king up, only move. This is mate in 1. Dookie goes here. Check on h6. Dookie slides the king out of the way. He's getting his king towards the center. Mielda's spending a lot of time on each move, down to a minute and 4 seconds. She's doing the L formation thing. This is good, but she doesn't know how to mate. She's checking Dookie's king. So we have a little formation here. We have a little box around the king. We got to get the king to the edge of the board. 42 seconds here from Mielda. Can she do it? Oh my God. King G8, king G6. It's mate in 1. Just got to find queen F7, but she doesn't do it. She doesn't know what to do. She's shuffling her king back and forth. She has 34 seconds on the clock. This is almost stalemate. King has 2 legal squares. What will she do? It's mate in 1 right here. This is checkmate if she can find it, but she doesn't. 23 seconds. King G8. And on the 78th move, Mielda does wind up checkmating White's king and wins her match. What an extraordinary game. Oh my God. And I tell you guys, it continues to get better from here. This was the one game of day 1 that did go to match number 5. Now we're going to take a look at another game here between our second match of the evening, Coffee Treatment versus Deluxe Agony. So we have Deluxe Agony here with the white pieces, Coffee Treatment with the black pieces, and we have a bishop's opening here from white. This pawn in the center is a little bit loose. We have knight f3. Now, black can actually go for taking this pawn, okay? And it's almost like a Petrov kind of accepted where you take the pawn in the center, and black does. Black takes a full pawn. White takes this pawn, though. You may have an idea to play something like queen e7, but black doesn't see it, instead attacking the knight this way. But now this blunders something tragic, because one of these pieces is going to take this pawn, and Agony is going to take with the knight, forking the queen and the rook. Oh my goodness, this is very scary. Now black can maybe fight back with a move like queen f6, which actually threatens checkmate over here, but instead castles, and black unfortunately blunders the queen with a check. Check on the king through discovery. The rook goes up to slide into to block the check, but white can just take that, and black's position is absolutely massacred. And I will tell you this, my friends, this game does not get too much better for black as they continue to sacrifice or blunder a bunch more material, losing the knight in the center, losing the bishop, losing the other bishop. We're going to come back and take this bishop. White is actually going to accidentally sacrifice the queen in the center, but he has too much material. And after the rooks mobilize to the open file here on the E file, it's going to be too much for Coffee Treatment. And black's king is going to be bullied around here as white picks up a little bit more material. There is a mate in a few moves. He prolongs it a little bit, but Deluxe Agony cleans this one up. This was the 3rd game of their series because Agony won the first 2 in a row and gets a clean sweep on our friend Coffee Treatment. Nice job to Agony, who will be going into the second round. And then we have a beautiful game here by Ari Weaver and Trabella. Ari, a returning competitor from last year, and Trabella here is a newcomer for this year's tournament. Now, this is game 1 between the 2 players, and we'll see Ari starting out here with d4 and Bella playing a little bit of a less principled f5. And it seemed so far in the opening, Ari was playing very principled moves, in fact, playing somewhat of a London system. Technically, Bella was playing the Dutch defense, although she technically didn't really know what the Dutch defense is. So she was playing a few of the moves of the Dutch, but probably needed to play stuff here like g6, bishop g7, knight f6, and didn't necessarily play things in that order. Unfortunately, and played a little bit suboptimally. Getting checked pretty early, although that check is not necessarily very good. Whites and black are both doing very fine. We do now have knight f6, but we don't wind up getting g6 and bishop g7. Instead, a6 on the corner of the board. And what you'll notice is that both players are playing in a very closed position, but white is able to get their pieces onto much more ideal squares you see here. Now, usually in the London, the knight goes to d2 with the pawn on c3, but it's probably not going to matter too much here because Bella's not challenging these pieces or challenging white's center. Therefore, white can play a little more aggressively. White actually sacrifices a pawn here, but queen b4 is not played. Instead, Bella plays a little more passively, is a little bit nervous, and what's going to wind up happening is the position is closed, but once the position opens up, we kick the knight back, you see. Ari's pieces are just a little bit more mobilized. Bella's king is still in the center. She doesn't have all of her minor pieces developed, and things are going to start opening up here after a couple pawn breaks. We have a5. Now, a5 can be taken. Ari says, nope, I'm not going to take you. You can take me. Bella goes knight h6, adding some more pressure to this piece. But Ari is just going to break in the center. And once he breaks in the center, look at this. The rook lines up with the king. The knight is applying meaningful pressure. The two bishops, the other knight. Ari has very good control of the center, and things are going to rip apart. The bishop is staring down at this queen. We have bishop takes. We have knight takes. We have a big piece exchange. Now, material is equal, but look at white's pieces. Look at this activity. There's a lot to like here for white. And after a move like d5, which is a mistake, the queen is hung. And unfortunately for Bella, she is going to lose her queen. Now, Ari doesn't see it right away. Ari plays rook e6, but eventually he sees that the queen is hanging. Bella's going to pick up a knight, but it's going to be a little bit too late here, as the pieces are going to fly off the board, and Ari's just going to wind up 7 points of material. The bishop will come out and try to take a pawn, but the king is just getting massacred in the center. And notice these rooks, they never move the entire game. Bella has 39 seconds on the clock, is not able to get her king to safety, and after a couple more piece blunders, the rook and the bishop here in the center, there's a checkmate in the middle of the board, as this rook cuts off the entire file, and this rook is delivering the mate. Good and hard-fought effort by Bella here. This was actually the best of the 3 games and the longest she survived, but Ari Weaver did pick it up in 3. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more recaps of upcoming days in the tournament. Come watch it live on twitch.tv, link in the description below. And thank you so much for being here. Hope this was educational and informative, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.